I'm Jason Spellbring, and welcome back to Behind the Design, a series where we celebrate our designers from the Lyric Repertory Company. In today's episode, we'll be chatting with John Savage and Spencer Potter and get an inside look at their designs from summer 2020. You know Utah State very well. What is your history with Utah State University?
I got my associates from Dixie College. Back then it was Dixie College. And then came up to, got into theater there as a performer, and came up to Utah State primarily on an acting scholarship. And that's what I thought I was going to do. I thought I was going to act.
So what would you say your skills as an actor or the time you spent as an actor, how does that affect your design for sets? How do you approach it that way?
Huge. I'm a big proponent of, I don't like to think of myself as a scenic designer or illustrator, but a facilitator of action. So yeah. I'm responsible for the space. I'm a steward of the space. For me, what makes me feel great is working with the director and with the actors to create a space where the actor can be as comfortable as possible. That is my job, is to take care of the actors, much more than it is to paint pretty pictures and do things. So I'm kind of an anti-designer, I guess.
Yeah.
I'll find the ways that I just don't want to get in the way.
So when you get a project like All Shook Up, how does it go from your artist brain into a rendering or anything on paper that then translates to what other people can see with your vision through color or scale or energy and feel? What is the first thing you do?
Well, the first thing is working with the director to find out what the vocabulary is going to be. Unfortunately, that the director and I were doing when we were putting together All Shook Up when COVID hit, we hadn't really solidified it. So a lot of the stuff that you're going to see are preliminaries that need some further exploration. And I think that's the most fun thing to do is, but my least favorite thing in working with the director is I'll present a rendering or a model or something, and they'll assume, since I have put effort into it, that this is done. The conversation's over, and they're like, "Oh, great, I love it." I'm like, "No, this gets the ball rolling. We're gonna do
one of many.
And let's keep going." And that's what I really enjoy.
So moving over to Hudson, how do you approach a play or musical, in this case, a play with music that has never been produced? There's really no other production photos from another company or other workshop stuff. How do you approach a brand new premiere opposed to something that you can just sort of Google search on that title?
I've actually been lucky enough to do a lot of premieres, and I love it. It's terra incognita.
Yeah,
it's just going for it. There's no rules. And it's such an incredible piece. The music is incredible. The staging's challenging because it's just on a boat.
Yeah.
But I really like some of the stuff that we were playing around with. Again, those designs are pretty solid, but I'm hoping that there's still some things that we would want to still massage until we get to opening.
John, I just want to thank you for your time. You are a joy to have in the company, and we miss you greatly. But we're also grateful for the work that you bring to this small theater in the northeast corner of Utah. Your sets are stunning, and your work is impeccable, and we can't thank you enough.
Well, thank you, and I'll do it as long as you ask me to.
I need to start by saying you are an alum of Utah State.
Yep, did my MFA class of 2014.
And what's it like being a graduate of the program and then working professionally with the company during the summer?
It always kind of feels like coming home when you come home for a summer at Lyric. It's nice to kind of be able to go back to where you started, get to continue working with people that you had valuable working relationships with in the past. It's when everything seems to change in life so readily, it's been nice to have Lyric. I think this 2020 would have been my 10th year. So 10 years with the company.
And you're only 12 years old. That's amazing. We got you so young.
Yeah.
So, Spencer, what makes your design unique is that you used a 3D model.
Yeah.
So can you give a description and kind of walk through what that looks like and tell us how that works?
Modeling is an important part of a scenic design process. Rather than a rendering or a sketch, it gives you the spatial relationships, lets you check things like sight lines and practical things like that. So a 3D model then really started out with a SketchUp model to be kind of a quick mock-up, but ended up investing a lot more time in developing it, and it became what I ended up doing drafting from. So I can build a 3D model in a computer using push-pull tools and build it together that way. And then from that 3D model, based on where I position a camera in that model, I can take a snapshot of a wall, an architectural detail, and I can dimension that.
So how do you deal with texture and color in a design like that? I know a lot of designers provide examples of that. Is that done through some sort of submission of textures that you saw in photos, or do you actually render those as well?
The process that we stopped with Murder on the Nile, you'll notice it looks like a white model, right? There's not a lot of color on it. We were in that white model phase, and we were starting discussions about color and color palette when things came to a stop.
Yeah.
So some of the programs use, I can put colors and textures in. The step that I want to still do, even though we didn't produce it, is I have this grand vision of taking some screenshots of the model and then going in and digitally painting it to create the texture and the atmosphere. Like I just have this gorgeous image in my head of like a house left view looking at the boat cutting through fog with that beam of light off the front. So I still want to draw that. So I would have used a mixed media, all would have been digital, but a couple different programs to get what I was feeling. Because a model gives a great nuts and bolts perceptual thing, but a huge part of any design is atmosphere, and especially for a murder mystery, right? We got to feel the vibe. So that's where I'd go. I think I'm still going to render it when I get some downtime this summer, just because it would be pretty and I want it.
Spencer, thank you so much for your time. You are a gem, and we cannot wait to see what you do next.
You bet. Thanks, Jason.
Thank you so much for joining us for Behind the Design. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you at the theater.